Global conflicts rage, economies shift, and headlines scream of uncertainty. But what if the true architects of our world operate in the shadows, their influence unseen, yet undeniable? What if their story is already written, not in today's news, but in a far older prophetic script? The seeds of this unseen power were planted centuries ago, long before the modern financial system took form. In 17th-century Europe, ambitious ventures demanded unprecedented capital. Think of the Dutch East India Company, launching colossal ships across treacherous oceans. Too grand for any single fortune, these expeditions pioneered the concept of pooled capital, early joint stock companies where many individuals shared both the enormous risks and the potential for unimaginable rewards. This was the nascent idea of collective investment, a fundamental shift from individual speculation to shared financial destiny, laying the very groundwork for the monolithic funds that would one day quietly reshape the world. As centuries turned, the world hurtled into the Industrial Revolution. Towering factories, sprawling railway networks, and vast mining operations demanded capital on a scale previously unknown to humanity. No longer were small ventures sufficient. These were projects that redefined nations. This insatiable hunger for funding spurred the emergence of powerful banking houses and syndicates, institutions capable of marshaling immense resources. Financial power began to concentrate, moving from individual merchants to collective entities, accelerating the development of financial institutions designed to funnel wealth into these grand, transformative endeavors. The early 20th century marked another pivotal moment, the dawn of professional investment management. Out of the chaos of individual stock-picking and the devastating lessons of the 1929 crash, a new concept emerged, the mutual fund. These funds allowed ordinary investors to pool their resources, diversifying risk and accessing professional expertise previously reserved for the ultra-wealthy. Regulations, forged in the fires of economic collapse, further solidified their role, promising investor protection and fostering institutional growth. It was a cautious, analytical evolution, moving from wild speculation to managed portfolios, an innovation seemingly benign, yet destined to hold unforeseen consequences. The post-World War II economic boom unleashed an unprecedented era of growth, fueling the expansion of institutional capital. As the middle class swelled, so did savings, pension contributions, and insurance funds. These vast sums were no longer primarily managed by individuals but by large, professional institutions that became the dominant players in the market. Pension funds, in particular, channeled immense wealth into corporate America, quietly increasing their influence on corporate boards and economic policy. This was the quiet accumulation of power, an exponential increase in managed assets that steadily laid the foundation for today's financial giants. Yet, amidst this accelerating financial landscape, two names would emerge, not with thunderous declarations, but with quiet revolutions that reshaped the very foundations of investment. First, in the 1970s, from the unassuming suburbs of Philadelphia came John Bogle and his radical vision for Vanguard. In a world dominated by high-fee, actively managed funds, Bogle dared to challenge the status quo, championing the first index fund. His philosophy was simple, yet profound. Prioritize the investor. By tracking the broader market, minimizing fees, and eliminating the speculation of stock picking, Vanguard promised steady, reliable returns. It was an idea met with initial skepticism, even ridicule, but it was an unstoppable current, a quiet revolution that put the everyday investor first, inadvertently laying the groundwork for an immense, centralized power. Then, a decade later, from the heart of Wall Street, another giant began to stir. Larry Fink, a rising star, left First Boston to co-found BlackRock. His approach was different, more aggressive, and deeply rooted in the emerging power of technology. BlackRock's core differentiator wasn't just about managing money, it was about managing risk with unparalleled precision. They developed Aladdin, an acronym for Asset, Liability, and Debt and Derivative Investment Network, a proprietary risk management system that would become the brain behind their operation. This cutting-edge technology allowed BlackRock to see what others could not, to analyze vast swaths of the global economy and to appeal to the largest institutional clients. It was a strategic genius, a technological edge that would propel BlackRock to unimaginable heights, creating an all-seeing eye in the financial world. As these two philosophies, Vanguard's passive, low-cost indexing and BlackRock's technology-driven risk management, gained traction, they unleashed an unstoppable tide. Year after year, the undeniable evidence mounted. Index funds consistently outperformed the vast majority of actively managed funds. Investors, both individual and institutional, began to shift their capital en masse. Why pay high fees for underperformance when you could simply track the market and reap consistent returns? This fundamental shift in investor behavior led to an exponential growth in assets under management for firms specializing in passive investing. It was a market phenomenon, seemingly benign, yet inadvertently funneling unprecedented capital into a few, concentrated hands. This era marked a period of intense scale and consolidation within the asset management industry. Smaller, independent firms found themselves unable to compete with the lower fees and technological advantages offered by these burgeoning giants. A relentless wave of mergers and acquisitions swept through the sector, swallowing up competitors and further concentrating financial power. The argument was simple: economies of scale. The larger the fund, the lower the operational cost per dollar managed, allowing for even lower fees, which in turn attracted more capital. The market, in its relentless pursuit of efficiency, was inadvertently centralizing control, shrinking the number of independent actors and amplifying the influence of a select few. And so, the stage was set for the emergence of what many now call the Big Three: BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Together, these three firms now command a staggering combined total of trillions of dollars in assets under management. Their ownership stakes permeate virtually every major industry, every economy, and thousands of companies worldwide. From the food you eat to the cars you drive, from the technology in your hand to the energy that powers your home, these three entities are often among the top shareholders. Yet despite this omnipresence, this profound, almost unbelievable scale, they operate with a paradoxical anonymity. How can such immense power remain so largely unexamined, so unseen? For centuries, we have been taught to believe in the fierce, competitive spirit of the free market. Brands battling for supremacy, innovation driving progress, and consumer choice reigning supreme. But what if this perceived competition is merely an elaborate curtain, expertly woven to obscure a far more intricate, unsettling reality? The truth is, the giant investment funds we've been uncovering, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, are not just major players. They are often the largest shareholders in hundreds, even thousands, of the same companies. This is the web of interconnected holdings, where these Big Three frequently own significant stakes in each other and in rival corporations across virtually every sector. It's a phenomenon known as interlocking ownership, where the lines between competitors blur into a unified, managed landscape. This isn't just about passive investment. It's about a foundational unity that quietly undermines the very notion of a diverse, truly competitive market. The scope of this interconnected ownership is staggering, touching every corner of our daily lives. Think of the products you buy, the services you use, the news you consume. Chances are, the invisible hand of these funds is guiding them. Consider the major airlines that fly across our skies, the food companies stocking our supermarket shelves, the pharmaceutical giants developing our medicines, the tech firms powering our digital world, or the energy companies fueling our homes. In many cases, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are among the top three, if not the single largest, shareholders. This isn't a matter of simple diversification. It's a pervasive presence that grants them unprecedented leverage. It means that the brands that appear to be battling for your loyalty are, at their deepest level, often orchestrated by the same few entities. This isn't just about abstract stock portfolios. It's about control over the fundamental aspects of our existence. But their power extends far beyond simply owning shares. The true genius of their influence lies in the subtle yet potent mechanisms of corporate governance. These funds wield immense proxy voting power, casting votes on behalf of millions of individual shareholders they represent. Imagine the collective weight of these votes, dictating everything from executive compensation to strategic direction. Furthermore, they strategically place individuals on corporate boards, men and women whose perspectives and agendas align with the fund's broader vision. These are not merely symbolic appointments. These board members actively shape company strategy, influencing decisions that impact entire industries and, by extension, the world. It is a system where the levers of corporate control are pulled not by a multitude of voices, but by a select, influential few, operating often out of public sight. One of the most potent tools for shaping corporate behavior today is the Environmental, Social, and Governance, or ESG, initiative. On the surface, ESG appears to be a laudable pursuit, encouraging companies to be more environmentally conscious, socially responsible, and ethically governed. But for the Big Three, ESG is more than an ethical guideline. It is a key driver for investment decisions and a powerful instrument for corporate pressure. Companies are increasingly pushed towards specific environmental targets, mandated diversity quotas, or certain social policies, often under the threat of reduced investment or public denouncement. Is ESG a purely ethical movement, or has it become a sophisticated tool for control, enabling these funds to push broader agendas onto the thousands of corporations they own? The debate rages, but the influence is undeniable. Building on the foundation of ESG, we witness the rise of what some call woke capital. This phenomenon sees investment funds influencing corporations to adopt specific social and political stances, often far removed from their core business operations. We've seen corporations taking public positions on highly polarizing political or social issues, aligning with directives that stem from the very funds that are their largest owners. This has sparked significant public backlash and a heated debate about woke capitalism, questioning its impact on consumer choice, corporate freedom, and indeed, societal cohesion. Who truly dictates the moral compass of our corporations? Is it the consumer, the independent board, or the unseen hand of powerful fund managers shaping not just markets but cultural narratives from the shadows? This deep, interconnected ownership, amplified by proxy voting and agenda-driven initiatives, leads to a profound revelation: the illusion of competition. Walk through any supermarket aisle, visit a car dealership, or browse a tech store. You see countless competing brands: Coca-Cola versus Pepsi, Apple versus Microsoft, Ford versus General Motors. Yet examine their ownership structures, and you will frequently find the same top institutional investors holding dominant stakes in both. This isn't just a coincidence. It's a fundamental restructuring of market dynamics. What are the implications for innovation, for pricing, for true consumer sovereignty, when the ultimate decision-makers for supposedly rival companies are the same? It forces us to question the very nature of free markets under such concentrated ownership, revealing a system where the illusion of choice disguises a deeper, unsettling unity. The immense scale and pervasive influence of these funds create another critical concern: financial stability. These entities are not just powerful. They are woven so deeply into the fabric of the global economy that they have become, in essence, too big to fail. During times of financial crisis, their sheer size and interconnectedness mean that their collapse would trigger global catastrophe. This grants them implicit government backing, an unspoken understanding that they will be protected and supported to prevent systemic meltdown. But this protection comes at a cost, a moral hazard where unchecked power is allowed to grow because the system cannot afford its failure. These funds are not merely influential, they are, by their very nature, integral to national and global stability, making them untouchable, and their power virtually absolute. Beyond the boardrooms and balance sheets, the reach of these titanic funds extends into the very halls of power, shaping the laws that govern nations. What few realize is the quiet, relentless campaign waged in Washington, D.C., in Brussels, and in capitals across the globe. Here, the Big Three employ formidable lobbying arms, deploying vast financial resources to influence legislative hearings and regulatory bodies. The lines between government and these financial behemoths blur, creating a revolving door where former fund executives seamlessly transition into high-ranking government positions, often in crucial financial oversight roles, and vice versa. This isn't mere influence, it's a symbiotic relationship, a silent partnership where financial power dictates policy, challenging the very notion of independent governance. The realization that the invisible hand extends beyond markets, directly influencing the laws that govern us, creates a profound sense of apprehension. But this political influence becomes even more pronounced in times of global crisis. When economies falter and governments scramble for solutions, these giant funds don't just advise. They often become the architects of recovery. Consider the 2008 financial crisis, when BlackRock was tapped by the U.S. government to manage distressed assets, effectively becoming a de facto arm of the state in salvaging the economy. Or during the COVID-19 pandemic, where their advisory roles to central banks and governments expanded exponentially, guiding massive stimulus and recovery programs. Was this purely benevolent? A necessary intervention to stabilize a collapsing world? Or did these moments of global instability present unparalleled opportunities for these funds to consolidate their power even further, embedding themselves deeper into the fabric of national and international finance? The idea that moments of global crisis are also moments when this unseen power expands its reach most rapidly is a chilling thought. Such pervasive influence, however, would be impossible without a technological infrastructure of unprecedented scale. At the heart of BlackRock's dominion lies Aladdin, a proprietary risk management and trading system of such sophistication that it is now utilized by thousands of institutions globally, including pension funds, insurers, and even their direct competitors. Aladdin isn't just a software, it's an all-seeing algorithm capable of monitoring vast swaths of the global economy, providing unparalleled insights into markets, risks, and opportunities. This single system processes trillions of dollars in assets daily, granting its operators a panoramic view of financial activity that no individual or even government can match. The implications are staggering. A single algorithm, a singular brain, watching, analyzing, and influencing nearly every corner of the financial world. The power inherent in such pervasive visibility is both awe-inspiring and deeply concerning. The technological prowess of Aladdin is merely the engine for a truly global reach. These funds operate without borders, their investments and operations spanning continents, transcending national sovereignty. From burgeoning emerging markets to the established economies of Europe and Asia, their influence is omnipresent. They serve as advisors to sovereign wealth funds, manage national pension systems, and their representatives are frequently found at international summits and organizations like the UN and IMF. This isn't merely about holding foreign stocks, it's about intertwining their financial power with the geopolitical dynamics of nations, quietly shaping economic policies and development trajectories worldwide. The sheer vastness of their international footprint means that no corner of the world is untouched by these financial leviathans, their decisions resonating far beyond Wall Street. But perhaps the most tangible and unsettling aspect of their global reach is their control over the very essentials of daily life. These funds hold significant ownership stakes in companies that dominate global supply chains, from the moment raw materials are extracted to their final distribution on supermarket shelves. We speak of shipping companies that move goods across oceans, logistics firms that organize intricate networks, agricultural giants that feed billions, and energy producers that power our homes and vehicles. This isn't abstract financial ownership. It's direct influence over the availability and cost of essential goods. In a world increasingly prone to supply chain fragility, the power held by those who own its fundamental components is immense. The unsettling realization that even the food on our plates and the fuel in our cars might be influenced by these few funds makes their invisible hand feel terrifyingly close. Beyond goods, these funds are quietly acquiring the very foundations of our physical world, real estate, and critical infrastructure. Their portfolios include vast holdings in residential housing, commercial properties, and the essential infrastructure that underpins modern society. Think of the toll roads you drive on, the power grids that light your cities, the bridges connecting communities. Often, these are assets in which the Big Three hold significant stakes. This quiet acquisition has profound implications for housing affordability, the quality of public services, and even national sovereignty. It's a revelation that these funds are not just buying stocks, but buying up the very physical world, piece by piece, fundamentally altering who truly owns our cities and homes. And if control over physical assets isn't enough, consider their deep penetration into the very information grid that shapes our perceptions. These funds are significant shareholders in major news corporations, social media platforms, and internet service providers. This raises critical questions about information control and narrative shaping. Who dictates what news we see? What stories go viral? What opinions are amplified or suppressed? If the primary sources of our information and the platforms through which we consume it are ultimately owned by a few powerful entities, what does that mean for truth, for open discourse, and for the very fabric of our society? The ultimate question emerges. If they own the news and the platforms, who controls the story? So we stand at a precipice of understanding. We have traced the historical genesis of these financial giants, meticulously detailed their deep corporate influence, and now revealed their pervasive reach into government, technology, global markets, essential goods, infrastructure, and even the information we consume. This is a power of unimaginable scale, yet it operates largely in the shadows, its architects remaining largely anonymous to the public. This is the paradox of invisibility, immense global influence coupled with relative public anonymity. Is this invisibility accidental, a consequence of complex financial structures? Or is it by design a deliberate strategy to wield power without accountability? And as we consider these questions, a deeper, more profound inquiry emerges. Does this unseen power, this quiet consolidation of control, align with ancient warnings, with prophecies that speak of a time when global systems will rise to challenge divine authority? The ultimate pivot is upon us, from how they control to why this might be happening, drawing us inevitably into the prophetic narrative. After tracing the astonishing rise of these financial leviathans, we must now ask, is this silent, pervasive power merely a natural evolution of capitalism, or does it echo ancient warnings? Is the blueprint of this unfolding control already written? To understand this, we must journey back to the very dawn of human ambition, to a time when humanity first sought to unite in defiance of divine will. It began in the plains of Shinar, with the building of a city and a tower whose top reached to the heavens. A single people, speaking one language, driven by one purpose, to make a name for themselves, to consolidate their power, and to prevent being scattered. But God intervened, scattering their languages, halting their unified rebellion. The Tower of Babel stands as a timeless warning against humanity's ambition for centralized power and control, a foundational biblical principle against the very globalist tendencies we observe today. Centuries later, amidst the splendor and corruption of ancient Babylon, a young Hebrew captive named Daniel was granted visions that would reveal the trajectory of human history itself. God unveiled to him the nature of earthly power, not through human strategy, but through divine revelation. First, in Nebuchadnezzar's disturbing dream, a colossal statue crafted from different metals, symbolizing successive empires, each inferior to the last, yet all leading to a final unified kingdom. Then Daniel himself saw 4 monstrous beasts emerge from the chaotic waters, each representing a dominant global power. From Babylon to Persia, Greece to Rome and beyond, Daniel's prophecies revealed a recurring theme, the concentration of power, culminating in an ultimate, unified authority, destined for divine judgment. The blueprint for today's power structures, with their chilling precision, was laid out millennia ago. Yet the most direct and alarming prophetic connection to our modern financial landscape comes from the book of Revelation. a chilling vision of an end-times economic system. In chapter 13, Scripture describes a power that causes all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads, and that no one may buy or sell, except one who has the mark. Think of it, a world where economic participation is dictated by allegiance. Could the funds, pervasive influence over global supply chains, their digital control systems, and the impending push for cashless societies and digital identities be laying the groundwork for such a system? The ultimate control over commerce, a tool of spiritual allegiance, is not a distant fantasy, but a prophetic warning echoing in our present reality. Revelation expands on this, painting a vivid picture of an end-times global economic system characterized by immense wealth concentration and exploitation. It speaks of the merchants of the earth growing rich through luxury in a global city, Babylon the Great, symbolizing a center of commerce and ultimate indulgence. This system, built on greed and control, will ultimately face divine judgment. This staggering wealth managed by the giant investment funds, their ownership stakes in every major industry, and their ability to influence global markets eerily mirror this prophetic archetype. Are these modern financial giants, unknowingly, fulfilling ancient prophecies about a global economic order that prioritizes profit and power over justice and equity? But beyond the mechanics of control, the Bible also warns us about the spirit behind such systems. Timeless biblical warnings against the dangers of greed and the love of money provide a crucial moral and spiritual framework for understanding these developments. For the love of money is a root of all kinds of evil, 1 Timothy chapter 6, verse 10 declares. And Jesus himself taught that no one can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other, or else he will be loyal to the one and despise the other. You cannot serve God and mammon. The unchecked financial ambition we witness today, the relentless pursuit of profit and control, often comes at the expense of human dignity and spiritual truth. This isn't just about finance, it's about the very heart of humanity. The multifaceted symbol of Babylon in Scripture serves as a powerful lens through which to view these global power structures. It represents not only a center of economic might and luxury, but also a system steeped in spiritual corruption and opposition to God. This mystery Babylon suggests a hidden influence, deceptive appearances, and a blend of financial and spiritual apostasy. Could the seemingly benevolent, yet profoundly powerful, financial systems of today be a modern manifestation of this ancient archetype? A seductive force that draws nations into its web, only to ultimately face an inevitable fall. The invocation of Babylon is not mere symbolism. It is a profound warning about the spiritual implications of global economic and political control. It is also important to acknowledge the historical narrative of what some refer to as a one-world government or New World Order. Since the aftermath of World War II, there have been movements towards greater international cooperation and global governance. This has, in turn, fueled various theories concerning hidden elites pushing for a unified global system. While we do not endorse specific theories, it is undeniable that the current financial consolidation, particularly the immense power wielded by a few giant investment funds, positions these entities as potential instruments within such a broader historical and prophetic discussion. This is not about fear-mongering, but about discernment, seeing how the ancient warnings might be taking shape in our very present. The invisible hand of global finance is not merely consolidating power over corporations and governments. It is now reaching into the very fabric of our personal economic existence. A seismic shift is underway, quietly reshaping the future of money itself. The global push for central bank digital currencies, or CBDCs, is gaining undeniable momentum. Unlike decentralized cryptocurrencies, CBDCs are digital money issued and controlled directly by central banks. This is not just a technological upgrade. It is a foundational change with profound implications. Imagine a world where every transaction, every expenditure, is instantly visible and traceable by the issuing authority. A world where money could be programmed with expiry dates or restricted for use only on specific goods or services. This is not science fiction. These are features openly discussed by proponents of CBDCs. This unprecedented level of economic surveillance and control echoes a chilling warning from Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 to 17, which speaks of a time when no one could buy or sell without a specific mark. Are we witnessing the technological infrastructure for ultimate economic control being laid right before our eyes? The chilling possibility is that the technology for this ultimate control is not a distant sci-fi fantasy, but is being developed right now. But the convergence of control extends beyond mere currency. We have seen how giant funds leverage ESG scores to dictate corporate behavior. What if this concept, the linking of financial access to adherence to certain norms, were to extend to individuals? The terrifying prospect is a global social credit system, where one's financial life is inextricably tied to their obedience to a predetermined agenda. In such a system, an individual's ESG-like score, a measure of their compliance with environmental, social, and governmental directives, could determine their ability to transact, to travel, or even to participate in society. This is not idle speculation. Social credit systems are already in operation in parts of the world. The potential for financial exclusion based on non-compliance with evolving societal expectations is immense. The erosion of individual freedom and autonomy through financial pressure becomes a tangible reality. This is the slippery slope, where corporate social responsibility metastasizes into individual behavioral control, a terrifying prospect that your financial life could soon be tied to your obedience to a global agenda. This grand vision of interconnected control finds a powerful voice in initiatives like the World Economic Forum's Great Reset. Promoted by global leaders and influential figures, the Great Reset advocates for a reimagining of our economic and social systems post-pandemic. Its stated goals are ambitious: rebuilding the economy better, integrating advanced technology into every aspect of life, and transitioning to stakeholder capitalism, a system where corporations serve not just shareholders, but a broader set of stakeholders, including employees, customers, and society at large. While presented as a benevolent pathway to a more equitable and sustainable future, critics argue it is a blueprint for a globally unified economic and social order, a powerful elite openly discussing plans for a new world order. The debate rages. Is this a necessary evolution or a carefully crafted blueprint for centralized control, where the very funds we've discussed are not just participants, but key players? The efficiency of such a system, whether it be CBDCs, social credit, or the Great Reset, hinges entirely on the consolidation of power we have already uncovered. The Big Three, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, with their pervasive ownership across virtually every major industry, become the ideal instruments for implementing top-down agendas. Imagine the efficiency of controlling thousands of companies, not through direct management, but through a few carefully wielded proxy votes, influencing corporate boards to align with specific mandates. This inherent vulnerability, a system where so much power is concentrated in so few hands, becomes a prerequisite for any global control mechanism. The undeniable link emerges. The more power is concentrated, the easier it becomes to implement a global system of control. This is the gathering storm, a convergence of financial might, technological capability, and ambitious global visions. Underpinning this convergence is the unprecedented scale of data collection and surveillance. Every click, every purchase, every digital interaction contributes to a vast ocean of information. Banks, tech companies, payment processors, and online platforms collect massive amounts of personal and financial data. This omnipresent data collection, often unseen and unacknowledged by the average user, creates an all-seeing eye over humanity's daily life. The potential for this data to be used for profiling, prediction, and enforcement within a social credit or CBDC system is immense. The erosion of privacy, once considered a fundamental right, is not merely a consequence, it is a precursor to total control. The chilling thought emerges. Every digital footprint is building a profile that could be used against you in a future system. Yet the architecture of control is not always overt. It often operates through the paradox of philanthropy, where influence is exerted through seemingly benevolent means. Major foundations, often funded by individuals deeply associated with these giant investment funds, play a significant role in shaping global agendas. From global health initiatives to educational programs and social policy, these foundations wield immense power, directing research, funding projects, and setting narratives. The question must be asked, is such philanthropy purely altruistic, or is it another subtle lever of control guiding humanity towards a predetermined future? We must look beyond the surface appearances of benevolence to the underlying power dynamics, for even doing good can be an avenue for consolidating power and pushing a specific vision for humanity. But even in the face of such overwhelming power, a counter-movement is stirring. A growing public awareness, fueled by documentaries, books, and investigative journalism, is demanding transparency and accountability from these unseen architects. Ethical concerns are rising, and citizens are beginning to scrutinize the immense, unchecked financial power wielded by a few. This increasing demand for scrutiny from governments and individuals represents a vital pushback against the quiet accumulation of power. It is an awakening, a collective realization that the truth is emerging, and people are starting to ask the right questions. There is a glimmer of hope, for understanding is the first step towards informed action. As these prophecies unfold quietly before our eyes, we are confronted with an ultimate choice. The world is rapidly consolidating power, creating systems designed for pervasive economic and social control. But as believers, our allegiance is not to earthly kingdoms, nor to the allure or demands of worldly economic systems. The Bible is clear. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. This is not just about understanding prophecy. It is about where you place your faith. Will you trust in the ever-shifting, consolidating systems of man? Or will you anchor your hope in the unshakable sovereignty of God's eternal kingdom? This is the ultimate challenge. Understanding these prophecies isn't just about knowledge, but about where you place your faith in a world rapidly consolidating control. Yet, amidst the swirling currents of global finance and the silent rise of these unseen architects, a profound truth remains steadfast. No human ambition, no concentration of worldly power, however vast, operates outside the divine gaze. From the beginning, God has overseen the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of economic systems. His plan, intricate and sovereign, stretches beyond any earthly scheme. What seems chaotic to man is, in God's eternal perspective, an unfolding narrative, moving with terrifying precision towards its ultimate revelation. The kingdoms of this world are but fleeting shadows, their might temporary, their influence destined to wane. But God's kingdom is unshakable, an eternal dominion built not on gold or algorithms, but on righteousness and truth. His promises stand firm, an anchor in the storms of history. For those who place their trust in Him, there is an empowering hope that transcends any earthly control, a triumph already secured beyond human schemes. The ultimate resolution to every question of human corruption and control lies in a future foretold with glorious certainty, the return of Jesus Christ. He will dismantle every structure that defied God, every system built on greed and dominion. His coming will usher in a new heaven and a new earth, where righteousness dwells and true justice reigns supreme. This is the culmination of all prophecy, the final unveiling of divine glory. So, as these prophecies unfold before our eyes, we are called not to fear, but to discernment and steadfast faith. Anchor your hope in Christ, for He alone is the solid rock amidst global upheaval. Live by biblical principles, resist the pressures of worldly systems, and stand firm in the truth. Your personal responsibility is to watch, to pray, and to remain vigilant, for in a world of consolidating control, individual faith is the most potent force. Now, after everything you've heard, I ask you, do you see these prophecies unfolding today? Leave your thoughts in the comment box below. If you'd like us to keep exploring how current events connect with biblical prophecy, give this video a thumbs up and share it. This lets us know we should continue uncovering more prophecies, unfolding right before our eyes. And if you're ready to dive even deeper, click right now on the video you see on your screen. Blessings.